Have you ever listened to pilots talking with air traffic control and just wondered, what are they even saying? Well, it's basically a special language, a code that keeps our skies incredibly safe and efficient. And in this explainer, we're going to start cracking that code together.
Right. So imagine you hear this crackle over the radio. It sounds urgent, right? It sounds super precise. But if you don't know the lingo, what on earth does it mean?
And look, if that sounded like gibberish, you're not totally wrong. But in the world of aviation, knowing this language isn't just a neat party trick, it's absolutely essential. It's the bedrock of safety. Okay, before we properly dive in, just a quick heads up that this explainer is purely for educational and professional development purposes.
So why the succession with abbreviations? Well, think about it. In a busy cockpit or a control tower, communication has to be lightning fast. It's got to be crystal clear, and it needs to be unbelievably precise because there is absolutely zero room for error. This isn't about cutting corners. It's a highly sophisticated system built for one thing, keeping everyone safe and on time.
Let's start our journey right where every single flight begins, on the ground. The terms used before a plane even thinks about pushing back from the gate are what set the stage for a safe flight. First up, we've got ABN, which stands for Aerodrome Beacon. The easiest way to think of this is like a lighthouse, but for an airport. It flashes this powerful, rotating beam of light in a specific pattern, cutting through the darkness or bad weather to give pilots that crucial visual confirmation. Yep, there it is. That's our destination. Next is ADA, or Aerodrome Density Altitude. Now, this one's a little trickier, but it's so important. It's not just how high the airport is. It's about what the air feels like to the airplane. Hot, humid air is way less dense, and that dramatically changes how a plane performs. So why do pilots live and breathe a day? Because a higher density altitude means the air is thinner. This literally starves the engines of precious oxygen, which cuts their power. At the same time, the wings have less air to push against to create lift. And the result? The plane needs a much longer runway to get into the air. Get this one wrong, and you're in serious trouble. All right, we've broken ground. We're airborne. Now, let's see how the language changes as we start to navigate the skies, where things get even more dynamic. Okay, so we're climbing. How high are we? The first measurement we use is AAL, or above aerodrome level. It's pretty straightforward. It's your height measured directly from the ground of the airport you just left. So if you're 1,000 feet over the runway, your AAL is 1,000 feet. It's absolutely vital for making sure you clear any obstacles right after takeoff. But, and this is a big but, AAL is only half the story. We also use AMSL, which is above mean sea level. See, AAL is your local height, perfect for takeoffs and landings. But once you're cruising way up high, every plane needs to use the same standardized ruler, and that ruler is sea level. For example, you could be 5,000 feet AAL over Denver, but since Denver is the mile-high city, you're actually over 10,000 feet AMSL. It's the same spot in the sky, just two different and equally critical ways of measuring it. So, you climb out of the airport's bubble of airspace. Who's watching you now? Well, you get handed off to the ACC, or Area Control Center. These are the folks who manage the vast highways in the sky between cities. The ACC is truly the backbone of the entire air traffic system. They're the unseen choreographers of the sky, managing the long cruise portion of every flight. Their job is to make sure every single aircraft stays in its own safe bubble of airspace. Without them, flying long distances just wouldn't be possible. It makes you wonder, how did pilots navigate before GPS was a thing? Well, one of the original and most brilliant tools was the ADF, the Automatic Direction Finder. The idea is so simple. There's a radio beacon on the ground shooting out a signal, and an instrument in the cockpit literally just has a needle that points straight to it. It's a classic, a real workhorse that's still around today. All right, here's an easy one, but you will see it everywhere. A/C. It's just the shorthand for aircraft. It's on flight plans, in maintenance logs, in text messages. It's short, sweet, and everybody knows what it means. Okay, we're going to shift gears a little bit now to a more serious topic. Flying is incredibly safe, we all know that. But what happens when something does go wrong? The language used here is all about one thing: prevention. When a major incident happens, the AAIB is called in. That's the Air Accident Investigation Board. They are a completely independent body with one single critical mission: find out exactly what happened and, more importantly, understand why it happened. And their process,
as you can imagine, is incredibly methodical. First, they collect all the data, securing the site, grabbing the black boxes, interviewing everyone involved. Then comes the really hard part, the analysis, where they piece together the puzzle. And out of that comes a final public report. And the most important part of all, safety recommendations to make sure it can never, ever happen again. And this right here, this gets to the very heart of aviation safety. The goal of an AIIB investigation is never, ever to point fingers or assign blame. The sole purpose is to learn from mistakes so the entire global aviation community can get safer. It's a no-blame culture, and it's what makes flying as safe as it is today. Whew, okay, we have covered a ton of ground, literally and figuratively. From pre-flight checks to soaring through the skies and even looking at safety investigations. So let's do a quick-fire recap of your new aviation vocabulary. All right, let's go. We decoded AAIB, the investigators, AAL, your height over the airport, ABN, the airport's lighthouse, AC, shorthand for aircraft, ACC, the controllers of the high skies, ADA, the real feel altitude, and ADF, the classic radio compass. Not bad. So I've got a question for you. Looking at that list, which one of those terms was a total surprise? Which one had you saying, I had no idea? Let me know down below. I'm really curious to see what you found most interesting. You know, mastering this language really is the first step to truly understanding the incredible system of precision and safety that is modern aviation. It's built one abbreviation at a time. I hope you'll join us for our next explainer as we continue to decode this fascinating world.